Ladies and gentlemen, we've all heard of the logical problem of the Trinity, but have you ever heard of the logical problem of the Quran?
There's like a bunch of different versions of the Bible that have been like maybe modified, changed around, and like if you look at the Quran, there's just one that's been preserved.
Why so much confusion? Why so many different Bibles with different number of books? Which one is the true one?
One Quran only, one Quran, one Allah, one Quran, one message of all of the Anbiya. Which Bible do you have? Which one is the real Bible? Which Bible do you have? Look, I'll show you. You see this?
Okay, so to understand what I mean by the logical problem of the Quran, we first need to understand what we mean by the logical problem of the Trinity in order to show you the parallel between these two arguments. Now, famously in his paper on the logical problem of the Trinity, Richard Cartwright wrote these 7 statements that he thinks leads to the contradiction that the Trinity is polytheism. Statement number 1, the Father is God. Number 2, the Son is God. 3, the Holy Spirit is God. 4, the Father is not the Son. 5, the Father is not the Holy Spirit. 6, the Holy Spirit is not the Son. And 7, there is exactly one God. Now, the idea of this is that from the following statements, it would seem to be that either we have a contradiction in terms of the law of identity, or there would be 3 gods.
The absurdity or the inconsistency is affirming these 6 statements and then saying there's exactly one God instead of what appears to be the obvious case that there are 3 gods.
But notice also that Muslims claim that there is exactly one Quran, or at least some Muslims claim there is exactly one Quran, and they also know that there are different recitations of the Quran which use different Arabic words, verbiage, tenses, etc. So, for example, take the following: the Hafs, the Warsh, and the Duri. Well, if we take the 7 statements in Richard Cartwright's paper on the Trinity, we can just mirror that over to be about the Quran by just changing the words Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and God to be Hafs, Warsh, Al-Duri, and Quran. So, for example, statement number 1, the Hafs is the Quran. Statement number 2, the Warsh is the Quran. Statement number 3, the Al-Duri is the Quran. Statement number 4, the Hafs is not the Warsh. 5, the Hafs is not Al-Duri. And 6, Al-Duri is not Warsh. 7, there is exactly one Quran. Now, the obvious problem with this is when we say the statement, the Hafs is the Quran, are we using the is of identity or predication? Allow me to explain. So by identity, we are denoting that the thing is the exact same and identical, similar to the equation A equals A. Or Bill Clinton equals the 42nd President of the United States.
These allegations are false.
Now, the problem with this is that if the Hafs is identical to the Quran, it would also be identical to the Warsh, because in identity there's an inference rule known as transitivity. Now, transitivity says that if A and B equal the same C, then A must necessarily equal B if they're identical. So, for example, if Bill Clinton is the 42nd President of the United States, and the 42nd President of the United States has grey hair, then it follows that Bill Clinton has grey hair. But if the Hafs is the Quran and the Warsh is the Quran, then necessarily it would follow that the Hafs is the Warsh. But clearly that's not the same, because we can see that there are distinct differences between the Hafs and the Warsh, such as different usage of Arabic words, etc., etc. So we can't say that it's identical. Well, can we say that it's a predication? Well, the is of predication is to denote a quality that we ascribe to a thing. For example, Thomas Apologia has green eyes, or Thomas Apologia is human, right? Well, take for example, humanity. Thomas Apologia is a human, and also the person watching this video is a human. That's a quality which we ascribe to each person. Now, the problem with this is that we count 1, 2 humans, right? Now, the same way we don't want to count 3 gods in the Trinity, we would count 3 Qur'ans here, the Hafs, the Warsh, and the Duri, which would contradict with the statement that there is exactly one Qur'an.
One Quran only, one Quran, one Allah, one Quran, one message of all of the Anbiya. That's why Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Muhammad alayhi salam, all of them were Muslim.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, notice that this is not a general argument against the religion of Islam, as many Muslims may just admit that there are multiple Qur'ans, and that's absolutely fine. That's just the conclusion of the argument, and that's not just what this argument is seeking to do. And notice also that this isn't a claim from textual criticism, as the claims that I'm making are largely undisputed, that the Hafs, the Warsh, and the Al-Duri are not each other.
I'm going to slap you again today. And I approve this message.
That's largely undisputed. I'm not making claims that there are contradictory variants between the different qira'ats of the Quran. However, some people may try to make those claims. That's not my field of specialty though. I'm merely just making the uncontroversial claims that the Hafs, the Warsh, and the Duri have real distinctions between each other. Now, if we recall the argument, the conclusion is necessarily going to be that we have three different Qur'ans here. So, for example, if one wants to take the is of identity, we would have to deny transitivity because that would conclude that the Hafs is the Warsh, which the Hafs clearly isn't the Warsh, as there is distinctions between these texts. Now, if one wants to take an is of predication, that would just be saying that there are three Qur'ans because of how we count predication, as you will recall earlier with my example of humanity in the video. So we would necessarily have to conclude that there are multiple Qur'ans. So what is the functionality of this argument? Well, this is just an interesting response to the rhetorical quip that Muslims commonly like to pull out on Christians to say that there is only one Qur'an, but you have multiple Bibles. So when they say this, we can just reply with this following argument to show them that that statement is indeed incorrect. But with that being said, I'd like to thank someone called Adam Coptic for inspiring this argument, and also my friend Sig, who has used this argument with me on live streams before. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, God bless.